Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. How's everybody doing? I hope great. If you haven't been outside, go outside and enjoy this beautiful, beautiful weather. It's just like the perfect temperature, not too hot, not too cold. Now if you stand out there for a little bit, you might get a little warm in the sun, but it is just, just perfect Florida weather. So, I told you earlier in another video that April is National Poetry Month. And one of the poems and poets that I want to share with you is Shel Silverstein or Silverstein. I've looked it up and I've found both pronunciations, okay? Anyway, he is no longer living. He died in 1999, but his works are just like Dr. Seuss. We still continue to enjoy them, and they are very, very famous, and they are have become classics. One of those is The Giving Tree. And if you have not, read that story yet, I'm going to read it tomorrow. And there is also a video that I'm going to recommend that you watch after I read it, okay? Another of his books is A Light in the Attic. That is like a collection of poems. Where Does I Walk In? Same thing, another collection of poems. And the one that I'm going to read today is A Giraffe and a Half, okay? This is a rhyming book, but it actually is more like a story, okay, from beginning to end. Some of his books, they have individual poems in there, and then each poem has its own title. But he is a very unusual writer, but just an awesome writer, and just the way that he puts words together and his thoughts that he comes up with and his ideas that he comes up with are just so unique. So I think that's why, some of his things have become so well known. But the book that I'm going to share with you is a 2.3 half point, quiz number 68336. And again, is called A Giraffe and a Half. And there's his signature on the front cover. Now, the reason this doesn't have a cover on it, because I'm sure probably had a jacket, a book jacket, and a book jacket is just kind of like a jacket that we wear, okay? It goes over the front or around the book to protect it. Well, sometimes when you take those jackets off, the inside of the book will just be like, a plain cover. And so I'm sure that's probably what happened with this book. I did not take this one off. Maybe Ms. Zant did, but this has been, this book has been around for a while. All the illustrations are done by him as well, and they are in black and white. So there's no color in the story, but there are illustrations on each page, okay? So let's get started. A Giraffe and a Half. And there's the title page. And I believe that's what the original cover looks like. The book jacket. If you had a giraffe. So here's the little boy. And it looks like he's got a leash. And he stretched another half. Would have a giraffe and a half. So back on this page, he's stretching him. See? He's not that long to begin with. Then he stretches him some more, and you have a giraffe and a half. If he put on a hat and inside lived a rat, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat. See the rat? If you dressed him in a suit and he looked very cute, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit. So now the giraffe has a suit on. If you glued a rose to the tip of his nose, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose. If a bumbly old bee stung him right on the knee, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee. Look at that. So there's the bee on his knee. The rose on his nose. If he put on a shoe and then stepped in some glue, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe. So now there's a shoe with the glue. If you gave him a flute and he played tooty toot, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe, playing toot on a flute. If he used a chair to comb his hair, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe, playing toot on a flute with a chair in his hair. Look at that chair up there. Oh, his hair. If he tripped on a snake who was eating some cake, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in a suit with a rose on his nose, with the bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe, playing toot on a flute, with a chair in his hair and a snake eating cake. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? I told you he has a way with making things a little bit different and unique. If he found an old trunk and inside was a skunk, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in a suit, with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe, playing toot on a flute, with a chair in his hair and a snake eating cake and a skunk in a trunk. Look, there's the skunk in the trunk. And there's the little boy. If he met a fat dragon who sat in a wagon, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in a suit, with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe, playing toot on a flute, with a chair in his hair and a snake eating cake and a skunk in a trunk. and a dragon in a wagon. If he jumped on a bike and rode over a spike. Uh-oh. So there's the spike. Okay, there's the bike. You would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat looking cute in a suit, with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe, playing toot on a flute, with a chair in his hair and a snake eating cake and a skunk in a trunk and a dragon in a wagon and a spike in his bike. If a blubbery whale got a hold of his tail, so there's the whale that's pulling on the giraffe's tail, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in a suit, with a rose on his nose, a bee on his knee, and some glue on his shoe, playing toot on a flute, with a chair in his hair, and a snake eating cake, and a skunk in a trunk, and a dragon in a wagon, and a spike in his bike, and a whale on his tail. If he fell in a hole that was dug by a mole, you would have a giraffe and a half with a rat in his hat, looking cute in a suit, with a rose on his nose and a bee on his knee and some glue on his shoe, playing toot on a flute, with a chair in his hair and a snake eating cake and a skunk in a trunk and a dragon in a wagon and a spike in his bike and a whale on his tail in a hole with a mole. So now the giraffe fell in a hole. But if you brought him a pole to climb out of the hole, and the whale left his tail and went off for the mail. So now they have a pole, and he climbed out of the hole. And the whale let go of his tail. And he gave the spiked bike to a scout on a hike. So now he gave the bike back. And he left the fat dragon because his wagon was sagging. Now he left the wagon and the dragon. And he gave his chair to a tired old bear. And he traded the flute to a bird for some fruit. So now what's happening? He's kind of going backwards, okay? And all of the things that he had gotten, he's now getting rid of, okay? And he told that old snake to go jump in the lake. And a man who bought junk bought the trunk with the skunk. And he gave the rose to a girl he chose. So there he is. Gave the rose to a girl giraffe, while the bee on his knee flew away with a flea. That flea off of the dog. So what is that left with? And he put the shoe with the glue on you. And that silly old rat ran away with his hat. There he is. He put the shoe on the little boy. And then there goes that rat running away with the hat. And he put his suit in the laundry chute. And he shrank another half. So there he takes the suit and puts it in the laundry. And then he shrank. Because remember the little boy had stretched him to make a giraffe and a half? So he shrank another half. He would have a giraffe. Let's look at the first picture. So there's it started out. And that's the picture that it ended. So it's the same size, right? And that's the end of A Giraffe and a Half by Shel Silverstein. And I hope you enjoyed that. I will share another of his books tomorrow as we wrap up April. And I hope that you guys have a great afternoon. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.